Welcome to the House Husband Diaries. It's another episode, it's another day, and today, folks, I am pumped because I'm talking about two of my lifelong passions. I'm combining them into one human being, one episode, but my two of my lifelong passions are UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and basketball. And it's come to light. ESPN has made a mention of this, but Vince Carter, who graduated from UNC back in the early 2000s when Toronto was making a run in the playoffs, and Vince caught a shit ton of flack for choosing to fly down to Chapel Hill and be there at his graduation rather than be with his team. Such BS. It was ridiculous that he caught flack for that. But Vince has now become the first player in NBA history to play in 4 decades. The 90s, the aughts, 10s, and now the 2020s. With that being said, it's not just a longevity. He has achieved an unbelievable amount of statistical success along with his back-end success as a teammate. And one of the things, if you've watched any of my videos, if you watched a number of my videos, there will be a theme that comes out that I'm a closet dork. Or maybe I'm just a public dork because now I put videos out. But I love Excel spreadsheets and numbers and statistics and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff. I don't know why my brain does that. I really have no idea. But I started putting together a spreadsheet probably a couple of years ago of the best basketball players of all time in terms of stuffing the stat sheet. So, who are the best basketball players? Not by what public opinion is, or who this guy likes or that girl likes. I wanted to see what players across the 5 major statistical stats that are kept, who scores the most, rebounds the most, assists the most, steals the most, and blocks the most. Who does all 5 of the major 5 statistical categories the best? Like, who on a regular night in and night out basis just puts up the most stats? 40, I'm not going to say James Harden in 2020 is averaging, 38 points a game or 39 points a game or whatever he's averaging. I haven't looked recently. I don't really care if you're putting up 40 points and you're grabbing 3 rebounds. I'm not weighting it by what is what would that be? The difference, or between how much more you're scoring than the average and all that. Those advanced metrics. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at career totals. And obviously, you can look at career totals and say number of possessions per game. People would score more, or rebound more, or block more, or whatever because of number of possessions, because of the style of play in those eras. That's way too detailed for the House Husband Diaries. You know what I mean? I'm looking at, there's an eye test, and then there's just a raw statistical analysis test. And if you want to combat me on that, you want to argue, you want to say you're totally off, show me your advanced metrics, and we'll discuss. But until then, my argument is that Vinsanity, half man, half amazing, UNC alum, is the number 4 shooting guard all time in the NBA. All time. He is a stat stuffer. I'm not talking 22 seasons. He has put up points, rebounds. He's put up assists, steals, and blocks. All. So when I started my spreadsheet and then have been updating it, Vince Carter is 17th all-time total. So what I do, my method, is that I rank. So I look at their rank of, all-time in points. Number 1, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 2, Karl Malone. Number 3, Kobe Bryant. Number 4, LeBron James. Number 5, Michael Jordan. I don't look at when they retired. I look at current. And then by the time this video airs, or, soon after it airs, LeBron James will have jumped Kobe Bryant for number 3 all time. So LeBron James will go, -1. So what I do is I add up their total all-time ranking for where they stand in all-time points, all-time rebounds, all-time assists, all-time steals, all-time blocks, all-time numbers. And what I will tell you is the only player in NBA history to have top 50 all-time in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks is Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is the gold standard for stat stuffers. If he's not he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. I don't even, has he even in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't think so. I don't think that vote's come up yet. I have no idea. But guy was incredible. Somebody told me once that he listed himself at 6'11" because he came out of Farragut High, South Carolina, as a 6'11" power forward, or maybe small forward. I don't remember what he came out as in the draft. But that his view was, he kept growing once he got to the NBA, but that his view was that 6'11" was as tall as you could be and still be considered a power forward, and he considered himself too agile to be a center. He considered himself a power forward, but apparently he was 7'2" or 7'3". I don't know. He only weighed 112 pounds, regardless. But he could move, he could do whatever. He is the gold standard for stat stuffer. Now, LeBron James, depending on how many more years that guy plays, and depending on how his game evolves. So the one place where LeBron James is lacking is blocks. So if that guy starts to play some more power forward, if they could get a point guard over at LA and he can move down, I know Anthony Davis is like the power forward now, but if he could play like some power forward or center, the guy's massive. If he could play some center and he could get some, if he could figure out the weak side block, have some young guns play the wing positions and the point guard position, and he could guard weak side, the second best, have Anthony Davis guard the number 1, low post option 4 or 5, and LeBron guard the weak side guy, and he could come over and he could start working on that timing, and he could rack up some blocks in the last 4 or 5 years of his career. I'm telling you, LeBron James would he'd give KG a run for his money, if not wipe it out clean. LeBron has a chance to put up massive numbers. He's already putting up massive numbers, but really across the board. But blocks, he's not even in the top 100 right now. So he's got a long way to go. I'm getting a little off topic from my boy Vince, but I love this stuff. I love talking basketball. I love talking sports. And so I put it all together. I put this list together of who are the greatest stat stuffers. And some of these guys you have to look at outside of their stat stuffing ability, but Vince Carter is 17th all time. So let me go back to it, right? So if you're top 5, 10, whatever, top 50 in one, you're 42nd in points and 42nd in rebounds. Okay, well that gives you a score of 42 for points, 42 for rebounds. You're at 84, right? So I added up all of where they stand all time, and Vince Carter is 17th all time. He's top 20 all time. And that includes Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robertson, who I do not have steals and blocks stats for on basketballreference.com is where I'm getting all my stats from. So I just put a question mark. So I put them in front of Vince Carter because I figured they had more steals and blocks because they're two of their all-time greats. And I'm not here to say Vince is better than Oscar Robertson or Will Chamberlain. I don't think so. So they're in front of Vince. But including that, he's still 17th all-time in stat stuffing, all across the board. It's unbelievable when you look at Vince's career stats, what he's done. So here, I'm going to take a list, or I'm going to go through the list of top shooting guards and top small forwards because they kind of are interchanging, right? So I'm going to go shooting guards and small forwards. Shooting guards first. Michael Jordan, number 1, no question. Kobe Bryant, number 2. Some people might put him as a small forward. He's a shooting guard, small forward combo. I put him as a shooting guard, and I put him at number 2 behind MJ. My number 3 shooting guard is going to be Clyde Drexler. Clyde's about 40 points higher or lower, depending on how you want to put it, as a stat stuffer than Vince Carter. It's a pretty wide margin. Vince isn't going to catch him this year. But not only that, I mean, Clyde's just Clyde the Glide, you know? He was super impressive. And then I put Vince at 4. He's the 4th best shooting guard all time. My small forwards, LeBron James, number 1, no question. I got Larry Bird, number 2. I got Scottie Pippen, number 3. Scottie Pippen actually is a better stat stuffer than Larry Bird, partially because Larry Bird retired early. But I would say the difference between Larry Bird and Scottie Pippen is that Larry Bird could carry a team. Scottie Pippen is the consummate number 2 to Michael Jordan. It was unbelievable. He could fill in any hole, do anything you asked. He was like Magic Johnson starting at center for the Lakers. But Scottie Pippen, when Michael Jordan retired, Scottie Pippen was not alpha. He's just not. He is not your number 1 wide receiver. Elite number 1 wide. He's an elite number 2 guy. He's probably the best number 2 guy ever. I haven't really thought about that because what popped into my mind immediately was Shaq and Kobe. But I would say those are 2 number 1s just meshing together. And now when you have today's day and age with super teams, I mean, how do you say number 1, number 2? But back then, Scottie was elite number 2 player for 6 championships. But Larry was the guy. So he's got to jump Scottie, even though his stats don't stand up to Scottie's. They're good. They're amazing. But Larry's Larry. But Scottie's awesome. And then the number 4 small forward I have is Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce put up tons of stats. Those are the top 8. Top 4 shooting guards, top 4 small forwards. They kind of interchange. And then you look at all time, you've got Ray Allen. You've got James Harden. We don't know where he's going to be. Kevin Durant. We'll see when he comes back from injury. You got Dominique. I mean, Dominique could score and he could do some awesome windmill dunks, but, you know. And then Reggie Miller. I mean, he's a silent assassin, right? So, I don't know what you think. I'd love to hear, what you guys think about where Vince Carter stands all time in the history books in the NBA. I'm saying he's the number 4 shooting guard all time. He's top 8 small forward / shooting guard all time. He's a top 20 all-time stat stuffer, and that's not even up for discussion. It's facts. He has had an amazing career. Go Heels. I'm so happy. I'm glad that this is, he's been here for 20-some years. This is the last year he can ride out. It stinks that he's with the Hawks, and they're having just a crappy year. I wonder if he could get a trade, at the trade deadline, and somebody would just move him to a championship contender, like maybe the Bucks or even the Lakers. And I didn't think the Lakers were going to be what they are this year, but go Danny Green, Tar Heels. But if Vince Carter could get traded at the deadline, if somebody would just have a heart in the NBA and trade for him, and if y'all could win a championship and have Vince go out with a ring in his last season, I mean, please, can we just like, everybody makes gabillions of dollars in the NBA? Can you just put aside your egos for a second and go, man, this guy's an all-time great. He needs a ring. Can you make it happen? Can you find something to do a trade somewhere and get him on a championship contender? Please. I'm asking you. Okay. That's all I got to say. Let me know what you think. The greatness of Vinsanity. Hope you all are having a great day. Thanks for watching another episode of the House Husband Diaries. Talk to you next episode. Peace.